All right, so I am back and I want to work on a project, but I want to do it live. I tried it one time, not live, and I think I'm good to do it live. So what I basically have here is my travel journal that I made with Scrimba. And what I added to it was a light mode. So if you click on this spinning globe, it'll turn it to light mode. And if you click on it again, it'll turn it to dark mode. So one thing that's unfortunate though is that when we reload, if I go ahead and run dev, when we reload, it'll reload right back into light mode. And that's just not something I learned how to do so far, is to actually like keep the state switched. But another thing I was able to do was select a component by its ID and then flip the image from a filter, dark filter to a light filter. And what I thought that was going to kind of signalize was kind of like, I thought it was going to kind of signalize whether or not I've been to the place. So this is really cool. I would explain the code, but I'm just going to go ahead and go into another project and see what I can replicate. So let's see the digital business card, and then we can code it. And this is what we're going to be working on. We're going to be working on the digital business card. And one thing that I want to do is give it a light mode. So let me just go ahead and say npm run dev. And now we have all of our cards that we made. We're not going to need all of these cards. Instead, we can just go here. And I haven't seen these files in a really long time. So information, I think it's going to be in our main.jsx, is where we went ahead and we had all of these other card components added. So now all we have is Laura. And one thing we can do is move this into a different file. And let's just do that now. So I don't want to lose those forever. So I want to say old components.jsx. Don't know if this is best practice or not, but I'm just going to do it this way. And yep, that should be good. So now all we have is Laura. And what I want to do is I want to add a light mode. So the background, I'm not sure if the background actually changes. So the background doesn't actually change. The only thing that does change is this body section right here. So these are three different components and this little gray section over here. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to, first of all, I don't know how far back we are in this one because we're still passing props this way, when in reality we could just have it pass to a data file. So we could go inside of our src and we can say our data, and then we can say this is our user data.js, and then our user data.js we can export default an array of objects, and we can get some things here. So we can get these different values here, and we can go ahead and do this. Okay, so that's going to be our one, basically one array that we're going to iterate over. So I kind of don't remember how I set this up. So we have our information, our about content, our interest content, and our footer content. I'm actually not sure if we're going to be forced to even, let me see here. Okay. So I think the way I have it set up here is that I have all of my components mapped over, and then this one component is taking in all of the props. But the problem is here, I have these components set up differently. So they're all different pieces. They are all different pieces. So I'm trying to think, how would I give it a dark mode without using too much, without having too much spaghetti code? So we're going to need a parent component that's going to hold all of these different components is what I'm thinking, and use the main.jsx to just render that. So what I want to do is I don't know if this is the best way to do it, but this is the way I'm going to do it. Say app.jsx, export default function app, and we are going to import app from up here from app.jsx, and then we are going to say app, and we shouldn't get anything for it. Let me see what error it's giving me just to make sure I'm not doing anything wrong. Okay, export default function app, then we can return a div with an h1 that says hi. And then what are we getting here? Body cannot appear as a child of div. Let's see. See if we remove all of these. And let's go ahead and remove this from here. And what are we getting this error on? So body cannot appear as a child of div. So what if we change this to div? Okay, that fixes that. And then our export default function, let's return a class name just to make sure this is working. We're going to say text white, and then we're going to say, so yeah, it's working. And then font for text 5XL. Yep, I just want to make sure this is working. So what I am going to return though, we can keep these here. I want to go ahead and first of all, import all of our components. So information component dot JSX, and then import information. Let me see. Oh, this is information, and then this is interest content. So it's just using a different name, information component from information, and then import about. That's something that I should have done better, but I made this project a while ago. I should have just called all the components the same name as the file. And let me go ahead and say the interest content. So import interest content from interest content.jsx. Then import the footer content from footer content.jsx. And then instead here we can, .jsx. We can remove this here. And what we're going to do is that we're going to return all of these components. So I want to say information component. Let's see what we get. So we get our picture here. So I want to go ahead and, get all of our components in here. And interest component content. No. Interest content, and then we want to get our footer content, and let's reload. We're having an issue here. Let's see what's happening. So we get our information, our about, our interest, and our footer. I don't know what's happening here. I think this should be wrapped in a main. Is that what's happening? So we wrap it in a main. And one thing that's happening here is that we're no longer getting our components. So we're no longer getting our values. So one thing that we can do in our app.jsx, I might have to reference real quick back to what we did here. This is our app. So we have our header and our location map. So I'm wondering if we should do our toggle dark mode from here. Let me see what our map looks like. So our map is going to iterate over all of the visited. And I don't think we're going to even have to do all of that. So since we're just doing a dark mode on this website, I think I can just go ahead and set the state. So let's just say dark mode. And then we can also set dark mode. And this is just going to equal to React.use state. And it's going to be false by default. And then what we can also do is we can import React from React and then go ahead and say use state, and we can remove this and it'll still work, but I'm going to just leave it. So we want to basically, well, first of all, I think we should go ahead and move the image into this component. So the way we can do that is by, let's see here. We could pass in these props, or we could just iterate over a map. I think I'm going to pass in these props for now. And we'll just leave it like that. So now we have all of our information inside of a main. Looking back, I didn't think I needed to do all of this. So we just did it like this anyways though. But I don't think I would have to do it this way necessarily. But either way, we want to go ahead and make a function. And this function is going to be to toggle the dark mode. So we can just call that toggle dark. And I mean, it's simple what we can do here. We can just say set the dark mode. So run the second part of the array destructure of the React.use state, which is this function. And then we can grab the previous state, which is dark mode. Dark mode is the previous state and it's false. And we can just say not previous state. So we want to say dark mode is not false. Instead, it's going to be true. And then when we click again, it's going to be false. So what we can do here is we need to find what on the screen do we want to click to make this work. And I think we should just click on Laura. So what we can do is we can just say handle click. So remember, because this is a prop, we cannot say on click. That will not work. So we'll just say handle click, and then we'll pass it toggle dark. So now this component will be able to change the state, but it'll change the state of its parent component instead of the child. So that will mean that we do not have multiple points of truth, I think it's called. So I think if we allowed the image to change its own state, it would be called a derived state. So we don't want that. So now we can go into our information and we console.log our props. And what we notice here is that we get the toggle dark function. So if we go toggle dark, we will see that we get it. Oh no, it's called handle click. Handle click, and we see we get our toggle dark function. So we can go into our class name, and this is going to be picture of the website author. We can first of all make it a cursor of a pointer. So now when we hover over Laura, it's a cursor of a pointer. And then we can give it an on click. So we want to say on click. We want to go ahead and say props dot handle, or props dot handle click, I believe it is. Yep, handle click. So now when we click on Laura, it's going to toggle the dark mode, and we can see that this is working if we go down here and say console.log dark mode, and right now it's false. But when we click on Laura, it's going to be true. False, true. And then this is what we can use to go ahead and change the styles. So what we can go ahead and do is we can say const styles equals, and we'll make it an object. And then we also want to go ahead and say styles, or actually what's going to need our styles is a few of the other components. So this component over here is going to need our styles, and then this component over here, and then this component over here. So we can give these components these styles just by passing it as styles, styles, and just copying it and pasting it into all three of these different components. So now what is our styles? So our styles is going to have to change a few things. So first of all, what our styles wants to change, and then we can say our styles and our footer styles, since they're going to be a bit different. So our footer styles. So our styles and our footer styles, and then our footer content is going to take in our footer styles. And now these are going to conditionally render some things. So first of all, I want to say the background color is going to be, let's say, or first of all, we need to make sure that it checks for dark mode. So we want to say our background is dark mode. And if that is true, if dark mode is true, then we want to say our background is going to be, let's see, this color right here. And if it's false, then we want to make sure that it is this background primary color. Let me see if I can take this. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do that. So what I can do is go into my config file, and let's say our backdrop. So it's going to be our backdrop. And I just want to make sure this works real quick. So let's go into our business card. We passed our styles as styles. So now if we go into our about content and we pass in our props, and we can console.log our props, we get our styles. So let's refresh to make sure that error wasn't for us. It was not. So what we can do now is that we can say our style is going to equals to our props.styles, because that's how we go ahead and we get a hold of it from there. So we can go ahead and do that. And we can remove background primary now. And what should happen is when we click on Laura, it should change colors. So it does. And that's exactly what we want. Even though it doesn't look great right now, we go inside of our app.jsx and say our color is going to check for dark mode. And if it's true, it's going to be black. And if it's false, it's going to be white. So let's see. So that's changing. And there's a lot of other things that I haven't learned how to do yet. So I wish I could do those things, but right now I don't know how I would change things that I switched directly. But you know, that's fine. We're going to go back into our about content, and we are going to say our text is not going to have a color. So it should just simply come up as black. And I want to change one more thing first. I want to go ahead and change our information. So we can go ahead and say our style is going to be styles, or in other words, prop.styles. And we can remove this background of primary. And when we toggle on, let's just try to make it switch real quick. Let's see here. Let's see if we can make it work here. So our style, and where's our nav ending? Let's see. Our nav is ending right there. So yeah, it should have all of my nav items. Let's see here, background white. If we remove that, it shouldn't really change anything. Text peach, that should be fine. Props.name, props.handle click. Sheesh. Okay, let's see. So our style is going to be props.styles. Let me make sure our props.styles is coming through correctly. We're going to console.log our props. So I don't think I'm passing in my styles correctly for the information component. Turns out I'm not. So our styles equal to styles. And now we should be able to change that accordingly. And what I noticed here is that this does have a border, but does it have a border for both? I guess it does have that border. I just never really seen it. So we're gonna go ahead and style that. So we can give it a border of 1 pixel gray. So we can go here, go back to our business card real quick, go to this email button. So let's see what it says. So email. So we can give it a class name and we're going to give it a border. We're going to say of 2 pixels. And it's going to give the border to the actual image, which we don't want. We want the button to have the border. Right? That's what we wanted. And we're going to give it border of 1 pixel. See what that does? Let's compare it. That looks pretty darn similar, I will say. What if we give it like a 1.1? Let me test out with some different thicknesses. So 0.5. I like 0.5. So that looks pretty darn similar, I will say. Looks pretty good. So that's mine. That's that one. What I am noticing though is that this color is a bit different from this color. And what we can do is we can actually just conditionally render that, I believe, straight from the styles of the paragraph. So we can say style equals, and then we can go ahead and say not props.styles, but we can say, we're gonna have to open it, and I'm gonna go ahead and pause for a quick second because you have to use the bathroom. All right, so I think we can continue now. So I think what I left off at was, first of all, let's try to make all of our components work. So now when we flip, we get the dark mode, light mode. But let me try to make the interest component flip and then this bottom component here flip. So I know I have 2 different background colors. So I was going to try and work that style, but we'll just leave that for last. So we can leave that there. And then we can just go ahead and like, let's make a bookmark here or something. That's just to let me know, come back here. So now we can move into our interest or content, and let's see if we already passed it through. We can close this for now. And I think, yep, I passed through my styles and that's exactly what I need. And then I need my footer styles, and my footer styles is going to be a little bit different. So the background is going to be this right here. And when we're in regular mode, it should be, which one? Should be this right here. So now we can go into our interest and we can go ahead and get our props. And let's go into our style and let's go props.styles. And now we went ahead and changed this. We can change our text here. So now our text goes to the correct color, and then now we can get our footer component. See how this is coming along. I think it's coming along pretty well. So now we'll get our footer component or our footer content, and we'll go ahead and pass our props again. So we'll say our props, and then we don't have to console.log anything. We can go ahead and say our style here. It's going to equal props dot, and then our styles here are different. So the styles is the same prop, but it'll contain our footer styles instead. So we can do that. And we get our styles. And then when we refresh, we get this loaded back up. And one thing to note, I want to see if it's the same color here. So it's not, so we need to fix that. So we can go into our styles, and in dark mode, our background color should be different. So it should be this color right here. And when we go back, it should fix it. And I believe that was the color that we were supposed to use. Let me just make sure. So that looks pretty accurate to me. And then when we go ahead and go into our light mode, it will do that. So now we have the light mode, but there's a few things that I want to change. So I want to change this text to be this color when the state is changed. And I'll have to do that with some of the conditional rendering that I already learned. So we can go here into our bookmark and take that away. And we'll have to add some styles. So our styles will have to be color, and then we'll have to grab the color from here, which is going to be this color. And we'll just see what happens when we do that. Let's see if that'll change anything. Okay, so it does work. So when we go back here, that's not what we actually want to change. But we're in the right direction here. So we just need to get this color right here. And then we can set it. And then that's going to give us our color here, but we have to conditionally render it. So we have to go ahead and wrap our p tag. I'm not sure if it's all the p tags. I'll go ahead and just try that. And we have to say if props dot, and then we'll have to pass in my dark mode. So we'll have to pass in dark mode into all of our props. So let's just say dark mode equals dark mode. And the reason why I'm passing this is because to conditionally render, we have to check if there is a dark mode, and I believe we're going to have to conditionally render for all of these. So we can say props dot dark mode. Oh no, that's not going to work. So we need a if else statement instead. Yeah, that's not going to work. So what I was going to try to do is say if props dot dark mode and etc., then we'll change that. But that's not going to work. So there's a few ways I think I can do this, and I want to find the best way. So what I can do here is, we're in JSX here, so we can say props.dark mode and color. So when we switch back, it's not going to work. Okay. So we'll have to do a little bit something weird here, but I think it's the only way I know how to do it right now until there's a better way. So we can go ahead and say our, let's say our heading styles. And we'll say our color here is gonna check for props dot dark mode, and if dark mode is true, then we will keep the text of peach. So again, we'll have to go into our config and grab peach. And then we'll have to say it's going to be peach. And then otherwise, if dark mode is false, meaning we are in light mode, we'll have to grab this color right here. And so this is going to check for our dark mode, and dark mode is going to be something that we set here in toggle. So now we can go ahead and go to our paragraph, and we can say our style is equal to this heading styles. And what we see is that it switched it. And I think this is opposite. It is opposite. So what we can just do is just switch this around. And we can do this instead. And it'll fix it for us. So now in the light mode, we'll conditionally render this. And then in the dark mode, we'll conditionally render that. And I'm not sure if I really have to change this right here. It's a really, really small difference. I'm going to learn about conditionally rendering things as well in the next video. So let me go ahead. I may just be able to do it one time for this. So let's do that. So let's say our const, and what I'm noticing here is that we're probably going to have to do it in the parent scope. So we're going to have to say const our paragraph styles is going to equal to a color. And then if dark mode is true, then we are going to grab this DC. And then if it's false, we're going to have to grab this right here, this other color. And we want to put these inside of parentheses. And this is our paragraph styles. And now our paragraph styles can also go here. And I'm starting to see why this may not be the best way to do it, but this is just the way I know how to do it right now. So we'll just do it this way. So now we can say our paragraph styles equals paragraph styles. And we'll just do that. And now we can go inside of, and then another thing that's really not helping me right now is the fact that all of these components are just different. Or all of these sections are different components. So if it was just one component, we would only have to pass it one time. But since it's three separate, we have to pass it three separate times. So now we can go inside of our information and let's see if any of these is going to need that. And I think this Laura Smith here, or this website, is going to need it. So we have our email, our LinkedIn, and then we have our button here, then our website. So our website can take in style, and it can take in props.paragraph styles. And then when we load in here, we should see that it should change. Let me make sure this is changing. So let me say red, just to make sure this is changing, and it's not changing. So that's okay. We just have to make sure this is good. So we're going in our props, grabbing our paragraph styles. So let me make sure everything is coming in here correctly. This is our information component. So I don't think I have it there. So we can move it there. And then I think we're going to have to flip these around. So let me go here and let me see what this website thing here is doing. Oh, and I just realized that this is going to be a little bit different. So yeah, okay. Yeah, I just realized it's going to be a bit different. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to take it off of here for now, not the nav. I'm going to take it off of the paragraph here. And instead, I'm just going to work on it within the other ones. So I'm going to work on it in the about content. So the about content can go ahead and take my style and take our props dot paragraph styles. And when we flip through here, I think these are in the wrong spot again. It's weird working with these, to say the least. So if we flip them around, they should work though. Okay, so let's see. And let's make sure this is working. We can say something like red. And it is not currently working. So paragraph styles. Let's go into our about content, our styles correctly. So let's console.log our props. And we should get our paragraph styles. Right. Okay, so that's where it's changing it. So let's go back here and let's go in and let's see what this is changing it to. So yeah, we're actually in the right spot. So we can flip this around one more time since I grabbed it wrong. So now when we go ahead and load this in, gives me this weird color. It shouldn't. So let me try this real quick. Yeah, okay, that works better. And let's grab this DC and we switch over. Should switch to this DC over here. Right? Okay, so that's good. Yeah, that's a bit different from this. So we can go into our about content and we can just grab this style and we can set it to the rest of our things. So that's our interests, and we're not going to need it for the footer content. So I can take this away from the footer content. And I still don't like how we're moving this into here, but unless we use our user data and iterate over it and render our components onto the screen, it's just going to have to stay like that for now. So yeah, this is really nice. One thing that I wasn't able to change was this right here. So this is 4AE and this is 5. So one thing I want to change, or that I could try, is going back in and I can try a style of props dot paragraph styles. And let me make sure I did this right. I think I did this right. So now when we go back into our other business card, it should flip. And then this should be, I don't know that these two are the same. They're not. But I think it still looks pretty good. So one thing I can do, I believe I can just inspect this real quick. And then yeah, we see that it is indeed applying. And then when we flip our state and we go and check, we see that it is changing the color depending on the state. So one thing that I'm noticing now is our LinkedIn button is actually changing colors when we flip state. Even though this, I don't think this is supposed to happen at all. So that is indeed weird. So let's go check out what's happening with that. So let's go into our LinkedIn. I think it's because we didn't give it a text of white. So now that it has a text of white, it should stay white no matter what state we are in. And then all of our animations should still work. And we can flip between light mode and dark mode. I really don't like the background staying that same slate. It just looks a little bit weird to me. Although I feel like I may just leave it like that, honestly. Because it just, I don't know. I just feel like it should just stay like the original designed. So let me review this one more time. So the Laura Smith, the about and interest can stay the same color. The icons can also stay the same color. The only thing we have to flip is this bottom color, which we already did when we flipped through our state. We changed the bottom color to that D5, whatever, this color right here. And then otherwise, we put it to this color right here, the 16, 16, 19. Our paragraph styles are also different. And so is our paragraph styles on here. So yeah, I think we pretty much got everything back to where we needed it to get. So now when we go ahead and we flip through our styles, our design will look like either one of these. And I think this came out pretty good. There's probably some things I would change. but for the most part, I think we're good. It changes its state. It'll change this middle color. I think everything came out pretty good, but that's pretty much it, and see ya.